The Midnight Selkie, Chapter 15. Kiana let out a sigh. The darkness was a perfect cover for her depressed gloom. "Have I perhaps offended you?" She knew it was he, so her gaze towards him was slow and gradual. Artemis was confident that she had heard and understood him. "No, it's not you," she told him. "It's all me. I've ruined everything. I just never seem to be able to do anything right. Even when things seem right, they end up wrong and destroyed in the end. Everything has to be so complicated." "Life is complicated sometimes," he soothed. He came beside her and leaned on the stern. He watched her face curiously, which made her a bit uncomfortable. She turned away, feeling ashamed. She just couldn't face him. He could certainly see her obvious discomfort, and for her sake turned his eyes away. He looked instead to the figures at the front of the boat. Raleigh was still peacefully conversing with Nemo, Yue, Lazuli, and Phoebus. He cocked his head to one side, considering the boy carefully. "Kiana, I've been wondering. Raleigh, is he my son?" She gasped, shocked that he would ask such a thing, but that also meant that he knew that she had been pregnant, didn't he? She looked away in shame once more, quite saddened. "No, he's Malcolm's son." "May I ask where my child is?" "That pregnancy changed my life forever, Artemis," she sniffled. "I felt like I was being watched like a hawk. I had to drop out of school." School? Artemis didn't understand. To him, a school was something that involved fish. "I had to give up my education. I knew there was always the option of a GED, but there was just something so humiliating about having to leave that way. Yet I wouldn't have given up that child for anything in the world. He was our baby. It was all I had left of you. And yet, where is he, Kiana?" She choked on a sob. "He's dead. I lost him in distress before he even had a chance. I am so sorry. I'm a horrible mother, and I'm a horrible person." "I disagree," Artemis replied. "You are a strong and remarkable person. The fault is mine. You are a fine mother. My longing killed your son, Artemis. My fake sense of security almost killed Raleigh." "But it didn't. The only one who still blames you for all of that is you. Raleigh is fine. Look at him. Look how at ease he is. He told us that he was afraid of the water, and now he stands with great comfort upon a seafaring vessel. That is no small feat by any means. Are you telling me that you, his mother, his support, are not responsible in any way for his perseverance and personality? I love being a mother. I just don't feel that I'm worthy of it." "Every mother feels like that from time to time, I'm sure. You're doing the best you can, and no one can ask more of you. You simply do what is best for him, and he will appreciate you just fine for it. At least someone has confidence in me as a mother. My husband seems to have little faith in me." "Do you love him?" "What sort of question is that?" Kiana demanded. "Do you love him?" he repeated calmly. She frowned. "I thought I did. But it seems that the more I learn about him, the more I just like him. I always knew he was hard to get along with. But the way he is now, it took 12 years to see it." She balled her hands into fists and grit her teeth. "I can't stand him. The way he is, that is unhealthy long-term for me. It is devastating for Raleigh to be raised with that. Malcolm holds the financial brawn in our home. But what good is it when it cannot bring you happiness?" "Feelings must be nurtured, too. Emotional needs are just as important as physical ones, if one is to live, rather than simply exist." "You're going to try and convince me to leave him, aren't you?" she asked. "I'm not going to convince you to do anything, Kiana," Artemis assured. All that you need to do is what is best for you and Raleigh. That choice is yours to make, and I will respect that which is your best judgment, and I shall not interfere with it. I just want you to know that, now that I am free to make such a claim, I am here for you. What I want is your happiness." She felt a warmth in her heart. He seemed to know just the right thing to say. He made her feel good. He made her feel strong. He made her feel capable and confident. She found herself leaning into him. He placed an arm about her and nuzzled into her hair. She felt safe. "Deep in my heart, I never forgot you." "My offer still stands," he whispered. "I would never leave Raleigh, Artemis. He is my world now." "That is how it should be," he soothed. "Oh, is that how it is?" came the demand of Malcolm as he came upon them. "Malcolm!" she gasped, spinning about in surprise. "What are you doing out here?" "Are you schnooking with the seal now?" he spat. "I came out here to be a man and make up with my wife, but what I find is that she's seducing this animal." "That is not what is happening," she insisted. "How do I know? You two have a past, don't you? I'm not stupid. You think I can't see what's happening right under my nose? Is Raleigh his, Kiana?" "Stop it," she pleaded. "Don't say such things. Raleigh is your son and you know it. I haven't seen Artemis since I was 15. That was before you and I had ever met." "You were getting so saucy," he growled. "You seem to have forgotten how to be a proper wife." He lunged forward and slapped her across the face. She let out a cry and brought her hand to her face, watching him in horror and shock. It didn't go unnoticed. Many eyes were upon them now. "Mom!" Raleigh cried from across the boat. Artemis flew between them and slammed Malcolm back with a snarl. "Don't you dare lay your hands on her like that. You stay out of this, you homewrecker. She's mine. I will do with her what I please. She's too stupid to do anything other than just take it. If you don't like it, then jump off the boat." "Malcolm, stop it!" she cried. "She is a free-spirit human. She deserves respect. I will not allow you to treat her like dirt." "What is it you plan to do?" Malcolm taunted. "Are you going to teach me a lesson? That's just rich." He made beckoning motions to him. "Come on, boy. Show me what you have." "Artemis, don't," she pleaded. "It's okay." "No, it's not. That sort of behavior is never okay. It's the mark of a heathen." "Heathen?" Malcolm growled. "I'll give you a heathen." He grabbed up Artemis by his shirt and pushed him in an awkward, backward lean over the stern. "Malcolm!" Kiana cried. "Be quiet," he ordered. But it was enough for the company at the front of the boat to rush to the commotion in the back. Yue pulled Malcolm's back as Lajalay and Phoebus steadied Artemis. Malcolm was quite furious with this disturbance. "Stay out of this. Let that runt fight me like a man. He can talk the talk. Let him try and walk the walk." "Dad, stop it," Raleigh pleaded. Lajalay was before him in an instant. He crouched down and held Raleigh close to him, protecting him from any vengeful reactions his father might try. Nemo rushed to the back of his friend. Lajalay protected him in the front, but he could safely protect Raleigh from the nothings of behind. Cocooned by Selkies, no harm would befall him. Malcolm was far too wound up to back down now. He tried once more to attack Artemis. But once again, Yue got between them. The intention may have been a trivial man-to-man fight, but the father in Yue wished, even now, to protect his son from harm, as he had always tried to do. "This fight is foolishness," Yue declared. "No matter the victor, there will be no winner. Try to reason." "Those are the words of losers," Malcolm replied. He pulled back his fists and prepared to throw a punch. It was Phoebus to the rescue this time. He grabbed Malcolm's wrist and pulled him around. Of course, Malcolm struggled. He cursed at the Selkies with a furious rage and insanity. Shannon rushed beside them and grabbed onto Malcolm's hand. She screamed and pleaded for the madness to cease. By now, Atari had come to investigate. He had heard the ruckus from inside. If it was a skirmish, he wanted to be able to watch. Seeing the situation as it was, he moved in carefully. He came behind Phoebus to reach up. He grabbed the tan Selkie's hand and gave it an abrupt pull. This was rather unexpected, and Phoebus' hand slipped and set Malcolm free. The man fell backwards and was able to catch himself on the stern. But his freedom also caused him to fall against the frantic Kiana. She was not as lucky in regaining her balance. To Raleigh's horror, she fell over the stern, splashing into dark water. "Mom!" Raleigh screamed. "Mom!" "Oh no!" Nemo gasped. He cupped his mouth, shouting out loudly, "Woman overboard! Woman overboard!" Artemis threw Malcolm aside to get him out of the way. It caused him to fall onto the deck, but now Artemis had full access to the stern. His mind seemed to shut off completely, blocking out all logic and sense. "You clumsy fool!" he spat. Without hesitation, he stepped atop the back of the boat and he dove into the water after her. "Artemis!" Yue shouted in terror as he watched the dark waters behind them. He hoped and hoped that he could not see the pair. "He's gone mad!" Lazuli cried out. He released Raleigh, who ran to the stern and searched the surface frantically. "He can't swim like that! They'll drown!" Malcolm pushed himself up and scowled at the predicament. He had not intended to frighten his son in that way. He certainly had not planned to knock his wife overboard. He suddenly realized a heavy presence. Otari stood over him with a grin and crossed his arms. "See what you have caused, human? You've lost your mate." Malcolm simply replied with a defiant grin of his own. "You have lost one of your Selkies. Looks like I had to give a little to get a little." Such words surprised Otari. His eye went wide as he processed them. Then it narrowed as he scowled. Slowly he grew a smirk again. "Humans are quite interesting and shallow, aren't they? I can be like that too." "Otari, you pain in the neck!" Admiral Night Porter shouted as he marched out to the back end of the deck. He carried a searchlight under his left arm and a ring about his right shoulder, along with the line tied to it. "Quit making a nuisance of yourself. Make yourself useful." "Mind your business," the Selkie hissed. "Admiral!" Raleigh cried as he came between him and Yue at the stern. "Mom and Artemis went overboard. We can't see them." "That's what this light's for, boy," he replied. "Hold this and shine it out there," he ordered as he shoved it into Yue's hands. The worried Selkie fumbled for the switch to turn it on and shone it over the water. The motor stopped, slowly bringing the boat to a halt. All the while the search was on. Otari kept Malcolm down. If he couldn't kill him, he'd at least prevent another loss on his side. But needless to say, he enjoyed any chance to show cruelty to humans. "I can't see them!" Raleigh cried. "Stay calm, boy," Admiral Night Porter scolded. "We won't be able to save anyone if we lose our heads now. Keep scanning." "Over there!" Lazuli pointed. "I can see Artemis's hair." "Hurry!" Nemo urged. "Artemis can't swim!" Admiral Night Porter gave the life ring a hard toss in their direction. It sent it quite a distance. "Ahoy there! Look alive, you two! Grab hold! I'll pull you aboard. Hurry! Don't make me come in there after you." Kiana and Artemis splashed about, trying to stay afloat desperately. They grabbed frantically for the ring. Both held on, free now to catch their breath. "Hurry and pull us in!" Kiana called. "I felt something against my legs, and I don't want to find out what it was or what it wants." "Hold tight!" Nye called back. "Yue, hold that light steady. Phoebus, help him. Nemo, Raleigh, Lazuli, get over here and help me pull. Be swift about it, boys. This ain't no drill." "If you make one move and try to stop them," Otari purred, "then I will throw you overboard." "Pull!" Nye demanded. No argument was made. No one would dare. They obeyed without fail. Luckily, whatever had shown an interest in the pair in the water had since lost it, but it made them no less tense and nervous. It could have been anything from a shark to a dolphin or even a mero or whale. But safety was on the boat, and they were relieved when Nye was finally able to help them back aboard. "Mom!" Raleigh cried out as she rushed over to hold her. "Are you all right?" Yue was just as attentive, leaving Phoebus to hold on to the light so that he could rush to Artemis. Father and son held each other just as close. I was so afraid, Artemis. I lost you once before. I couldn't bear to go through it again. I'm okay, Artemis panted. He brought a hand to his mouth as he gave in to cough and expel the water he had sucked into his body. We're okay now. You risked your life for me, Kiana breathed. You could have drowned out there. And yet you came for me anyway. I told you I wanted to be with you, he replied. I would not lie. Admiral, she began. No, the Admiral interrupted. Not a word, Kiana. We're only partway through our journey. Thank me when we get home. He turned around and stomped his way over to Malcolm, still crouched before Atari. You should be ashamed of yourself, Dr. Stalk. I could have lost you your wife, and it could have cost you any hope of mending your relationship with your son. Or is that what you're all wanting now? You better get that stick out of your pooper shooter and straighten up. Next time I might just let Atari rip you apart. Unlike your mate, you won't be saved, Atari chuckled. I'll see to that. Nye grabbed his scarf and gave it a yank. Once again, the Selkie let out a surprised gag. Would you stop that? So long as you need to be choked back on your leash, I'll continue to do it, Nye growled. Help me get him inside. I want to go back in. I'm not about to let him out of my sight for a while. And I'm not letting you out of my sight either. Me? Atari gasped. What did I do? I don't trust you, plain and simple. Now hurry! Malcolm and Atari both scowled at the Admiral, but just as Atari reached for Malcolm's arm, he pulled back. Get away from me. I'm perfectly capable of walking. Quiet, you miserable... Atari! I growled again. Let him walk. That is what he's preferring. I don't care how you two get inside, just so that you do it. The other Selkies watched from the side and contemplated this whole interaction. It was Lajulai who finally uttered his opinion to the others, but to no particular one. The Admiral is a rather odd character, isn't he? I've never seen anyone quite like him. He's quite rough, it seems, Phoebus agreed, but something tells me that he's very wise and entitled to being a bit eccentric and pushy. I almost wonder if he's wiser than the likes of us. Now that's a bold statement, he said, as he knelt beside Artemis and Yue. You're a fool to put it all on the line for the love of a human. I would do it again, Najulai, Artemis stated. I do not feel that I have done any wrong. I made the proper choice. Never said you didn't, Artemis. You are obviously stronger than I when it comes to matters of the heart. Artemis smiled. I get it from my father. I don't think I have much of anything from my father that I'm proud of, Raleigh interjected. He still held fast to his mother. She was just as happy to keep him in her arms as well. Artemis slid closer to them until he was close enough to embrace them both. There are bright days, Raleigh, but they only appear after dark nights. Life rolls back and forth between them. You just have to learn how to deal with them, as well as the transitions between them. You must learn how to endure them. Yeah, Nemo chimed in. Things may look bad now, but they'll have to get better eventually, right? But no matter what happens, Brother Raleigh, we're your friends now. We'll do whatever it takes to help you. We know you would do the same for us. Raleigh finally had to give way to a warm smile as his cheeks turned pink. Nemo seemed to have that effect on him. He made him feel better. I appreciate it more than you know. The silence inside the boat was rather heavy. Tension was thick, and it brought an awkward feeling among the passengers. It was late, and most had found a place in which they were able to settle. Kiana had chosen the privacy of the captain's quarters. She wanted to think in peace. A lot was on her mind, and she needed to consider it all very carefully. Most of the Selkies, despite the atmosphere, had found slumber as they huddled together in the cabin's den. Only 3 individuals, excluding of course the captain and the admiral, were awake. Raleigh maneuvered about the Selkies, not wanting to step on any of them on his way to the galley. He wanted juice. Even being on the water, it was possible to feel dry and thirsty. To his surprise, however, he found Atari in the galley. He sat at the fold-out table, fingers entwined before his face as he watched Raleigh warily. His eye flickered like a flame with its intensity. "Oh, you startled me," Raleigh said. "I thought you'd be asleep too." "We should reach the Amphitrite tomorrow," the old Selkie stated. "At long last, after so many decades in that hell, I shall have my sealskin returned to me." "Do you hate me, Atari?" the boy asked as he sat across from the Selkie with his juice. He even offered him his own glass, which Atari absently accepted. "That is a rather naive thing to ask. You remind me of Nemo in that aspect. No wonder he is so insistent in calling you brother. Won't you answer me? Do you hate me? Is it simply because I'm a human? Would you hate me if I were another Selkie?" "Oh, you are so clearly a child," Atari chuckled. "It is that simple." "Not every human is like the fisherman that hurt you, Atari," Raleigh explained. "Not every Selkie is like me," he replied with amusement. "Humans are inferior. They need to be put in their place. They're so stupid. You will grow up to be just like the rest of them one day. Those who are innocent never remain so. Maybe one day you will fancy one of our sisters, and you will steal her away from us. She'll be a prisoner against her will. Yet you humans, your women, they get a choice. Damn the gods and their treaties. You hate me because of the bad humans? You should hate me too, boy. Don't you think that you are looking at one who is like the others? I am very different, and you are not safe. Do you know what I could do to you?" "I could guess." Atari laughed inwardly and shook his head a little. He leaned forward and took Raleigh's hand. He gave it a little squeeze. "Before the fishermen, I was the terror of the sea. More people feared me than sharks. They had every right, too." "What do you mean?" "Humans can steal us away, and they can hunt us. What if the shoe was on the other foot?" For a brief point in time, boy, it was. Raleigh frowned. He felt a little uncomfortable now. Being so close to Atari made him nervous, and he felt trapped with his hand in those of the other. He was so intimidating. There was something about his touch, his gaze, that was so different from those of the other Selkies. But he braved it. He tried to hide his fear, though he was quite sure that Atari could sense it. He'd do all he could to stand his ground. Atari wanted to frighten him, and he wasn't going to give him the satisfaction of breaking down before him. The old Selkie was rather impressed by this reaction. "It wasn't just Mirror Rock. Your beaches were just as vulnerable, perhaps even more. Just as humans would watch the seals of Mirror Rock, I'd watch the humans on their beaches, too. They were so oblivious, so confident. Fools! Back then, with fewer residents, the area was peaceful and safe. Children were left unattended without worry. Beachside properties, especially, were notorious for stray children to bide their time. One day, I saw a lone child playing in the tide shallows. She was younger than even you. I would suppose that it was early evening, if my memory serves me proper. My guess would be that her mother was inside the dwelling, preparing the evening supper. She was therefore left alone on the beach." He paused only a moment to give a wicked snicker. "She was so easy to coax. She was so easy to lure. She was so easy to carry off the beach and into the deep waters. I may be a Selkie boy, but perhaps in a past life I was a crocodile. It brought me great delight to feel her struggle until I could feel it all cease within her." "That's horrible!" Raleigh gasped. "Oh, it didn't end there either," Atari continued with a proud grin. "You could say that I developed an immediate taste for my crime. I'd wait for the perfect moment. Then I'd strike. And it wasn't even just children. I believe she was the only child I pursued. Once I was sure I had the guts to do it. I wanted bigger game. I had far more thrill trying to bring down adults. Now that was the real sport, boy. No one could stop me. But I suppose my last time, I unwisely became a bit overconfident. Now, do you hate me, boy? Raleigh had to find the ability to speak. Atari had left him momentarily speechless. A part of me wants to, he admitted. It's sad to live like that. You weren't really even solving anything. Sometimes aggression is the only way to get your point across. It doesn't make it right, Raleigh insisted. It's like I said. You are very naive. You know, when I was completely afraid of the water, I was miserable. But the more I realized that it wasn't all bad, and that there were good things about it too, the misery began to fade. Don't try to psychoanalyze me, boy. You're on the water and handling it just as we all are. But you're not happy either. Your father sees to that by holding you prisoner to your own misery. That's an issue yet to be worked out, was the boy's calm reply. Atari simply smirked as he released Raleigh's hand finally. You have a sense of wisdom beyond your years. There may be hope for you. But alas, you cannot do it alone. It's a pity for you. You should have just followed your gut instinct. And you should have hated me. My hatred doesn't work like that, Atari. That hatred would have kept you away from me, boy. Perhaps it could have saved you. Perhaps not. Know this. When it is all over, I will kill you. The Aquaquami will go adrift as a manless ghost ship. My Selkies will be free. And you will all be dead. Raleigh gulped. That was a terrifying thing for Atari to say. It was even more frightening to picture the sort of things the Selkie would do to carry out that threat. Maybe, when that time comes, you'll have a change of heart. The old Selkie had to laugh at such a brave facade. You've got guts, boy. Indeed, you are much like Nemo. Perhaps you even have a little of the late Nautilus in that personality of yours. It amuses me. It also sickens me. Had you truly been a Selkie, even a half-breed, perhaps we could have been friends. Take what little comfort you can from those words. When the time comes, not even they will protect you from your final fate.